to. And then it has secondary poisoning, so you kill a
So you're
lot
all
of
set.
golden eagles. With
All right, good morning. Good morning, everyone. It is the Land Bank meeting, September 19th. We're here in Friday Harbor, and so I will call the meeting to order. And we will start with, let's see, we do have members of the public here. So I will ask whether there's any public comment to begin with. And we will have an additional public comment period at the end of the meeting. So, anyone? Mary, Haley? Okay, I guess not. Then we'll continue with approval of the last meeting's minutes from August 15th. Commissioners, any questions, comments?
I have one
Of
quick
course.
one, just a comment, in page 3, under the Cherry property. They talk about, the council will make their final decision on their final hearing on Tuesday. Is it possible to put the date in there
Yeah, I'll let
so that?
Good.
You know, which Tuesday?
Thanks, Tim. Any others?
Always a good eye.
Approved by consent. All right. We do not have a partner update this morning. The Preservation Trust is having their trustees meeting, taking a field trip out to Mount Ben, which we did last week. So we'll hear from the trust next week, and I don't
next
see
week, next
Jane
month.
here. Next month, yes. Don't see Jane here yet. Does anybody know whether she's gonna be here? or not?
Jane said she was gonna be here. She is traveling from Ellensburg, but she was gonna get to a spot where she could
Yeah.
attend.
Okay,
So it may not have come together.
right. Well, we will defer and give Ms. Fuller her time when she gets here. So onward to commissioners' reports. Who'd like to report?
I'll go
Tim,
first because
thank you.
probably everybody else did the same things.
Mhm.
I'd like to thank Tanya and Doug for putting together a forestry lecture and field trip over to, what's that? Mount Ben? No,
Katy.
sorry.
Katy.
Thank you.
I wasn't there, but it's Katie.
Yes, which was really good. It's very helpful. It's nice to see what some of the Youth Conservation Corps is doing. And the ideas were great and a fair number of people too. Also went to the that's Beaverton. Mount Ben tour. The tour of Mount Ben West, which was very impressive. I understand Preservation Trust is going to be there this morning or today. And boy, it's quite the project. So, and then we managed to stop by the lake, Limetown Lake, and Beaverton Marsh, the Overmarsh project, all in one day. It was a good day. Yes, we were channeling Maryland.
I'm sorry I missed it.
All right, thanks, Tim. Who else?
Well, I'll follow up on that one, and that can be really brief. So the Mount Ben tour with Preservation Trust was fabulous, and that is a beautiful piece of property. I mean, the oak up there are incredible, and what they're gonna do to open it up so they can continue to grow, and the old growth Doug Fair up there is so beautiful. So I highly recommend anybody who couldn't make it to get up there. And then we had time to go out to Overmarsh because the ferry was late, and then we almost missed the ferry because we were having so much fun out at Overmarsh. But it's incredible to see what they have done in a year. They have 30 participants, I
30,
think,
yeah.
already. Amanda Z is kind of overseeing the people who are out there. There's a lot of food being grown in that. And they are going to expand. They already have a little hoop house. it's impressive. Yeah, and then also just looking at Limekiln, Lake, or whatever you want, there are lots of names for it, that's complicated, but I was glad to be able to get a chance to look at it. So it was a really, really good day. Over now.
Okay,
Just, so you know, Brian, Jane is now on.
great, thank you. Okay, we will get back to Jane in a moment.
I attended a couple of meetings of the finance committee and my usual checking in with the local, at least, preserves. So, everything looks okay.
Good.
Everything looks great.
Hey,
So like Marilyn, I attended a few meetings and I have an anecdote to share, which is, we don't really ever realize how many uses our preserves have. And this August, the Orcas soccer team, which is very, very good, I must say, ran from the high school all the way up to North Shore North Shore, and went in the water there, and the recommendation was the rocks are so smooth there, we're gonna do it every year. Because they used to run to North Beach and cut their feet. No shark sightings.
Preserve page.
Yeah, we want a picture of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Oh, yeah.
North Beach is the one that has some sand.
yeah, I know, but I guess there's a lot of barnacles.
Mr. Chair, I have a comment to make. I take issue with the notion that the
Excuse me,
Orcas.
would you identify yourself, please?
I'm Jane Fuller, Councilmember Fuller
Oh,
from
Good morning,
Lopez Island.
Councilmember. Yes.
I just wanted to have a point of objection on the point that the Orcas boys soccer team is better than any of the other ones in the county. That's all.
Bring it on.
Could we strike all of that from the record, please?
I'm gonna add San Juan in there.
Welcome, Councilmember Fuller, and we will get back to your report momentarily. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I apologize for the humor.
Never apologize for humor. Anne Marie, anything else?
No, that's enough.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. I will third the emotion about the Mount Ben tour last week. It was a very, very good tour, and the real significance to us, I think, is that, as I understand it, it will provide us access with the Mount Ben Preserve property that we have owned for what, Lincoln, 30 years, something like that?
21.
For a long, long time, but never been able to provide public access to. So we will be following that and participating apparently in terms of our holding some sort of a conservation easement probably in the future, to be determined. Okay, so that was a great tour. Glad we didn't have to walk up from the bottom. Let's see. Peter and I met last week with three people representing a group of folks on Orcas who are inquiring about whether the land bank may be willing to participate in finding and or managing land for a green burial project
No.
that they have been talking about for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think that any of the current members of this commission were on at the time, and maybe this may go back to your previous time, but this group has been presenting to us, they've presented to us I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, maybe sometime before COVID, to the prior commission. And we listened to them and basically told them to go back and come up with a more of a specific plan and proposal to us, which is the same thing that Peter and I ended up telling them this time. So we recommended that they come back to the commission probably sometime next year after I'm gone.
Which way are you gonna do that?
Knew that was coming. Okay, so that's a coming attraction. And I think it's you know, I will say, well, personally, that I think it's an interesting proposal. I'm not sure what the land bank's role would be. We made it pretty clear that per our mitigation policy, it probably shouldn't happen on existing land bank land, but we might look together for additional land that they would find funding for. So we'll see, but that's up to a future commission. Oh, finally, I will mention again, what I mentioned last time, commissioner recruitment. Have not seen any announcements yet from the land bank or the county on commissioner recruitment. I know that we have a couple of candidates from Orcas and I believe one from San Juan. I'm not sure. The two upcoming vacancies are both at-large positions. So I don't know of anybody who's expressed interest from Lopez, but that could be. So I would urge all of you, my fellow commissioners, to talk to likely candidates. And I would urge staff to put out a notice and try to attract people. We're going to have our meeting, I believe, on Orcas next month. So I'm hoping that some people will turn out in person and also that candidates can come and introduce themselves to the commissioners and vice versa. And hear our meetings and learn a little bit about what the commission is doing. I think that particularly since these are large positions, it would be really good to have multiple candidates for you to interview. So, and that is all I have to report. And we are back to Congress. I'm sorry?
Amy's.
Oh, Amy's online. I'm sorry. Amy, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Sorry to not be there. I have meetings that bookend this meeting. I was fortunate to join Brian and Tim and Peggy and Lincoln on that Mount Ben Preserve tour. And just like they said, it was spectacular. It's such a great project. I'm very excited for it. It also was very interesting, as Peggy noted, to look at the West Side Lake, and it's a bit of a quagmire right now. And just to think about in the future what could be done with it. So yeah, I think that's what I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, back to Commissioner Fuller, and good morning again.
Good morning, everyone, and I'm sorry I'm not with you. I'm actually in my car, coming back from meetings in Ellensburg for Wasac yesterday. So, but glad I could join you this way. I'm just going to report on a couple things. If anybody has any questions for me, please feel free. Probably the first thing I want to mention is that indeed it is budget time for the county, and I wanted to let Commissioner Shanks and Marie know that I appreciated receiving your email on the budget prior to you're having the finance committee meeting on it day before yesterday, I believe. So Anne Marie, your questions and comments about the budget for the land bank were helpful, enabled me to have a good discussion with Lincoln. So we'll be talking about that shortly. So I just want to let you know I did get that, and thank you for that. But budget time writ large for the county, as you all know, is always a frenetic time, and it is also the year in which we do our biennial budget. So stakes are, a bit higher in terms of needing to contemplate 2 years out. I can say that what I understand from our county manager and what we've been briefed on so far as council is that while we can hold steady for this coming year, we are looking at having to make significant cuts in 2027. And our situation is not optimal by any means in terms of the county. And we may very well have to be looking at cuts for 2027. We have a few conundrums that have come up, not the least of which is one related to fleet services, which is creating a lot of challenges for departments and including the land bank, because fleet services has not updated their fees since 2009, and their costs are such that they need to be brought up to current date, so to speak, and that's having a ripple-on effect in terms of the pass-on costs that are being shuttled to departments to pay for the fleet services that our fleet department provides. So this is indeed a challenge across not just the land bank's budget, but other departmental budgets, particularly the sheriff's office, public works, parks, and those are the ones, including the land bank, that are getting hit worst. Happy to talk about that a little bit more when we get to the budget discussion. So the other thing that that the county is very involved in, and today is the last day for a public hearing on it with the Planning Commission, is the comprehensive plan update. So that is, it is the council's intention to work with staff to get that update done by the end of this year. And I do understand that there's one planning commissioner that is going to he'll be generating a minority report, and he's going to be voting no on sending the comp plan updates to the council as they currently are. That's Bill Bangs of Orcas. But Bill Bangs, he is somebody that I have gotten to know a bit through his since he stepped on the commission. And I think Bill is trying to be very constructive in the questions that he's asking, and what he's offering in the way of some recommendations that council consider in finalizing some of the elements of the comp plan update. So I don't see that, I see that as a healthy thing. But just to let you know, I'm hoping that doesn't throw us off track at finalizing our comp plan update by the end of this year, because we also have to move on to we already are moving on to critical areas ordinance update and the shoreline master plan update. So those are sort of big ticket items going on for us right now between now and the end of the year. But also, and very positive news, is Sev Jones is our new director of the Department of Community Development. If he finishes his workday today, we will hopefully have captured him to be in that role for some time for the future. So I have yet to meet him, but he'll be meeting with all the council members to introduce himself and talk to us. But what a relief to have a new director for DCD, and he comes with a good resume. So that's great. And I think that's all I'll report on to you all now. I look forward to the budget discussion. If there's any questions, let me know.
Yeah, Jane, I have one question, if I may. Have the dates for the council budget hearings been scheduled yet?
It's a good question. We were going to have 2 days of budget presentations on the 29th and 30th of this month. And the chair, in discussion with the county manager, decided that we won't have those budget presentations the way we have in the past. We'll be adjusting a bit in some ways. So I believe that the first date on which we're going to be having presentations is I think it's the 6th and 7th, or 7th and 8th, whatever that Monday, Tuesday is in October. Brian, I think that's our first touch coming up.
Okay, thank you. I actually misspoke. That's good information. I wanted to hear that too. I actually meant to ask about the comp plan hearings. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. No problem. So as I said, today is the public hearing on all elements of the comp plan update. So that's going on right now as we speak.
That's planning commission though, right?
Sorry, that's a planning commission. Yeah, sorry. Was that what you were at? Yeah, sorry. That's a planning commission.
I was asking council.
Exactly. So I was about to move on to council. So that step will be completed today. Then I do believe, although I will need to confirm with Jessica when I have a meeting with her today, that we may be getting a touch on the 6th or 7th, 7th, 8th. I think it's the 7th, 8th October dates, Monday, Tuesday. I'm sorry, I don't have my calendar in front of me. I think, Brian, that is the first touch, but I don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I can get back to you if you'd like to know. Sally Rogers, our clerk, can also let you know.
No, I'm sure it will be announced. I just wondered whether you could give us a preview offhand, but that's fine. Thank you.
Sure.
And did you have anything else?
I don't have anything else. That's all for me for now. And thanks very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuller. Okay, and that was a good introduction, I guess, to our budget discussion. So if you're ready, I don't know whether staff is going to take this first or our budget committee. Where are you going?
Well, we'll talk it through together. So, you have the memo that Aaron Rock prepared. And we're just gonna go through the memo to see if people have questions. We'll go through the budget. Hopefully not line by line, but, at least cover the high points. All right, so as you know, our budget is broken into two, with a conservation area fund and the stewardship and management fund. So talking about the conservation area fund first, one of the things to remember is that we do have some unrealized revenue. One of which is the Fraser Homestead lots. I've got that on the agenda for later, but my report is no report. I've heard nothing more from the Park Service. It appears that the fiscal year 25 money has not been released, or I think I would have heard that. So that's still in limbo. The grant revenue for Watmow Addition, I think we're in the very, very final stages of bringing that one through the door. So hopefully we'll be seeing that money quite soon. The first thing to think about, and this is an overall question, the REIT revenue. And so we're looking at keeping that at 3.5 million. This year, it's looking in the last 2 months, it's looking a lot more positive. So we are certainly anticipating hitting that 3.5 number. Probably it's going to be more if things continue as they've been going. So in the last 2 months, in August, we took in 600,000, which is the highest August we've ever had.
Yeah.
So far in September, we're at 400. So it's things are moving and high value properties are selling.
Yeah.
But I think the question is whether to adjust that budget number from the 3.5. Our sense is that it's probably best to keep it conservative and hold it at that same level, both in 26 and in 27. Okay, so other revenue to talk about, the grant for Cascade Creek Addition from the Sem Recovery Funding Board is on track. So we'll be working to bring that acquisition to a close next year. And we're not anticipating any additional costs in making that transaction. So it's should not cost us anything to do it.
So that's the 2.6.
Sorry, that is for the Cascade Creek Addition. So this is the 6 acres next to Coho Preserve.
Right.
The acquisition cost of that is 450,000. There are some additional costs. The grant award was 521.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
we're hoping we'll bring that all together.
So just
Yes.
a comment, which I think I've made before. I really like it when there's like a footnote that says 1, like 521, but that takes that number directly to the COHO. I mean, I appreciate down, we've got
Great.
an asterisk, but still it's sometimes hard to know which money is spent where.
Okay, we can
So
do
thank
that.
you.
Great. Okay. Um. We are also anticipating resale of the Alderman property next year. We've been talking about that and on and off, trying to do this for years and years now. This is another one which is more than 20 years in the making. This is a 10-acre property on Cattle Point Road on San Juan Island. It was purchased with the express purpose of resale with a conservation easement, removing the development rights. The property is in agriculture now, and the hope is that it would remain in agriculture. That was held up for quite a while because there was an adjacent property which we were thinking might be a possible acquisition, might be a possible trade. None of that came to fruition. So I think we're just looking at resale of that property. That 80,000 figure is an old appraisal number. We'll have to have that updated, so I'm not really sure what the amount is going to be.
Lincoln? quick
Yeah.
question on that. The sale of the property on Entrance Mountain, is that now off the table?
We haven't been talking about that lately. We can come back to that if you wish. Last time when we talked about that before, we had some questions.
Right.
Criticisms about resale of that property. There were also some issues with it because the neighbor was interested in
Yeah.
purchasing it. They wanted us to do a number of things on the property and wanted some allowances, for example, to put in a well and have a utility corridor. They wanted us to do some forest management. It just kind of started to maybe be questionable as to whether it was worth it. So,
it sounds like it's too problematic to put it in the budget right now.
yeah, we can revisit it and consider it again and come, to further conclusion, but it's not out there.
For this purpose, I would leave it like that.
Since we're talking about sale of property, we still have a parcel on the bottom of Baylor Hill. That we're not the piece that we're keeping, but.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said Cattle Point Road earlier. That was incorrect. Baylor Hill Road is what
We're
I,
talking about the Baylor Hill. part.
yes,
Thank you.
sorry.
Yeah.
I was trying to keep you on your toes.
That's
I thought-
Good job, Mary.
I thought that's where it was. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's the one that we're hoping to go for. Okay, so if you follow this all down to what we're projecting to have ending cash and investments, that's just over 6 million. Which Aaron, I don't know, can you point me to where that is in the,
Page 3,
Page what?
ending cash is on page 3 of the budget,
Page
okay,
3?
yeah, so you go,
it's at the top.
so we've got two, I'm looking at the memo number 1, and then we have the actual budget. So if you're in the actual budget, the page 2 is,
We didn't get them.
The last the material that Aaron sent out yesterday
Ah.
was updated with a memo on the last page, which explains,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
This explains what Lincoln's going through right now. It highlights these areas and that's what he's using.
That's the 26-27 budget materials PDF.
right,
Yes,
Gotcha. Okay, so we're on page,
The last page of that PDF is a memo, last couple of pages. A memo from Aaron that he wrote yesterday. That summarizes these major issues.
okay, gotcha.
There's another. There's.
Yeah, it was a
another
little confusing having
batch
two
sent
different
out
versions.
yesterday. This is from previous.
That's what I'm looking at.
What you'd be looking at. Yes. of the material sent out yesterday.
Okay.
On the table.
That's what I got from Aaron yesterday. I think I got another.
You're welcome to follow along.
So-
See.
I can just bounce back and forth between that and the budget. So you don't have to read both of them at the same time. I'll just go back and forth.
It's good that, it's good for the brain.
This,
Want to keep
this is
exercise on the brain.
one of the great goals of these meetings is to help people, with cognitive training.
Thank you.
Counting on it.
Okay, so back to ending cash and investments in the conservation area fund. We're projecting that at so I see. I guess I have a question. There's a discrepancy in the table that I have. Which shows 6.2 or 26. Do I have the wrong, and it's possible I don't have the updated table, but in the memo, it's showing 6 million.
The updated that I sent yesterday has it correct with the memo.
Okay, so the 6.2 is incorrect.
Yes.
All right. So,
Just over 6 million.
6.02.
and so for 27, that number is 6.114.
Yep.
Also holding REIT revenue steady in 27. Any questions on the revenue side for the conservation area fund?
Just a comment on the REIT that, although we're excited about the last 2 months worth of sales of large properties, as we know from our investment strategies, past performance is no predictor of future results. So I think it's really important to remain conservative in that projection.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a great scenario if we ended up well over the 3.5. I would argue to keep the REIT number at 3.5 anyway. Just because of all the uncertainty that's out there.
Yes.
Okay. So moving on from revenue down to expenditures. Few things to highlight here in the expenditures. One, I do want to point out a couple of things, and this is both for
That's the current.
the current, thank you. Both for the conservation area fund and for the stewardship fund, we are doing 5 changes in position. So updating people's job descriptions to make them more accurate with what they do. And that's not reflected in this budget yet. I wanted to call it to your attention though, because this is something we're intending to do. Not really sure what the implication is, but it's something that is definitely one of our big objectives staff wise for the coming year. We're not looking at adding any new positions, but we are looking at updating those few positions. Yes.
Do those kind of updates have to go through the county personnel office to be reviewed, and then they determine what the actual benefits or what the implications are for salaries?
Yeah, I'm halfway through that process. Well, I think hopefully I'm 85% of the way through that process. With the human resources director, Matthew Bullock. And I'm just waiting on the final job descriptions with the number. We've gone through what we see as an accurate number. So we've looked at comparators based on the new job descriptions. And I think we're pretty much set, but I just wanted to call that to your attention. So these numbers will go up a little bit.
So do we have a ballpark scope on what the increased number is?
I can't really give that to you off the top of my head.
Okay,
I mean,
Sounds like it's not significant.
it's not,
The budget.
no, I don't really think it is. I think we're talking about, well, it's certainly tens of thousands of dollars. It's not hundreds of thousands of
Okay.
dollars or anything like that.
Good enough. Thank you.
But it needs to happen.
It needs to happen. So I'm wanting to just call that to your attention so you're aware and making that approval. We'll bring back the final numbers to you. I expect some of these other numbers will change as well. As the council goes through their budget process, as we continue to get new information from other departments, but anyway, we'll just carry on and go through the numbers. So, not a whole lot of change, in that first section in administration.
Can you tell us what page you're on?
I'm on page 3 of the budget. We have a reduction in professional services. That's just reflected because we're not anticipating hiring a consultant to do any analysis or anything along those lines, like a strategic plan. So that number is reduced. We do still have professional services under acquisition costs for doing appraisals and things like that, but we'll come back to that one. Otherwise, though, we come down to information technology, one of the numbers that is given to us by the county administration. And that number is in for the conservation area fund is holding fairly steady. You'll see this reduction in GIS services. Overall, those numbers are going up. If you look at the stewardship picture, which we'll come to after we finish with the conservation area fund, you'll see overall it's a significant increase. But the GIS here is reduced because we're not using GIS in the conservation area fund activities.
Okay, so it's being moved over
It's
to.
being shifted
Okay.
and increased.
Okay.
Okay, so moving down, liability insurance, you'll see there's a jump there. That's just the tip of the iceberg, honestly. So currently we're paying 2,200 in the conservation area fund. That's projected to go up to 11,000 and then almost 15 in 2027. This is reflective of the liability insurance numbers that are provided to the county from the risk pool. So that's how the county is insured, through the local government risk pool. And they're increasing those numbers. I think there have been a number of judgments that have caused them to increase the numbers dramatically. So that's being spread across the county.
So, but none of those judgments were against our department.
The judgment, I don't think any of those judgments were for anything that happened in San Juan County. It's a risk pool spread across many different governments. And it's our understanding that there have been some significant judgments because of suits filed by people who've been incarcerated, who've had been abused, or something has happened where they've wanted a significant judgment or settlement. So I think that's what's happening here, and that gets spread across. For your understanding, if you look back over the land bank's history in terms of when we've used the risk pool, there hasn't been a lot of it. One of the things that's important to remember for all the property that we own is that there's a recreational immunity statute. So as long as we're not creating an attractive nuisance, it's very difficult for people to sue if they get onto a preserve and they have an accident, trip, fall, break a leg, arm, throw themselves off the edge of a cliff. It's not really, we don't have much of that, but we do have people slipping off of things for sure. So that's difficult. We have had a couple of, we have had one suit in particular where we've utilized the risk pool that was at Mount Grant, where it was a tort case that was filed against us. Eventually that was dropped.
As I see that number has jumped all over the place, so over time. But do we know that, how that fee is apportioned by the county among departments? Is it just spread evenly?
We don't have that information. We've asked for that.
That'd be
So
interesting.
we would like to see,
Yeah.
what each department is being assessed, as part of the total. So we'll let you know when
That's important.
we learn the answer to that question. But when we get to, stewardship, you'll see the full scope of the increase in liability insurance. Okay, just moving on down, no big dramatic changes, honestly. Everything is, really remaining pretty much the same. You will see there's our administration line. If you go on to page 5, where we practice year over year administrative expenses for the Conservation Area Fund, which is program administration. We're obligated to remain under that 10% number, which over the life of the program, it's been less than 5%. We have exceeded that number in a couple of years, and you'll note that we are getting close in 26 and 27 to that 10% figure.
I just wanted to say, I think the staff and the commission now and in previous years has just been really, really diligent in the way that they've handled the budget and met the rules that were set out by the county for the conservation and stewardship fund. I think it's really commendable that we haven't blown it off.
Yeah.
So good on you.
Here, here.
So the last part of the,
But can I ask,
yes,
follow that up with, so in 2009 and 10, when we did exceed, what happened? Nothing.
That was a recession right then.
Right, and so we had less REIT
right.
and our expenses, continued, but was there any feedback that came to us from council or anybody about having done that?
No, there was no particular pushback. We had to make some adjustments, but the reality was that the REIT revenue is just way down. We really weren't wanting to make structural changes at that point, just laying off staff, et cetera. It didn't make any sense. It would have been very difficult for us to continue a smooth operation. So we carried that. Eventually the revenue numbers came back up, and we were in sync again.
I would just point out that I think that's an important indicator in that if there is going to be a trend or maybe a trend that our REIT revenue continues to decline for whatever reason, and the administrative expenses assigned to us by the county continues to rise, that's a trend that's going to be very difficult for us.
Yep. Very true.
Yeah.
So the last part of the Conservation Area Fund budget is transfers to stewardship, which this year are totaling 3 million. It's slight increase in 2026, and then another slight increase in 2027. That includes the $500,000 that is transferred to the quasi endowment, our restricted fund within stewardship that we retain for use in the event that REIT is not reauthorized. So we continue to build that fund.
Will you tell me what page you're on right now?
I am still on page 3 at the bottom.
Back. Thank you.
At the bottom.
There you go. Good.
Sorry, that wasn't the last part. I keep forgetting. Goes on to the next page. Page 4, we have acquisition costs, broken down. You can see for 2025, the big one was the Cherry acquisition. For 2026, we have that 480 number in there. That is for the Coho acquisition, but we're expecting that to be covered under grant revenue. Otherwise, no big changes there. Debt service, that is something that will change pretty dramatically from 26 to 27. 2026 is the last year of the current authorization period, which has now been extended to 2038. But the bonds that were used for acquisition purposes in this current period will be paid off at the end of 2026. So you see a big drop in that number in terms of debt service all the way toward the bottom of that table. That is what's reflected. The bond that's remaining is against conservation futures revenue. That was done in 2006 for the Turtleback acquisition, where the county commission decided to bond against future revenues all the way out to 2036 to help with the costs of Turtleback. So we still haven't paid for Turtleback.
Wow.
I thought that that was the one that was being paid off this year, was the Turtleback bond.
In part. The other bonds were partly for Turtleback as well.
Okay.
But this is a separate revenue stream. And the reason it could go to 2036 is that there was no end of the authorization period. That's part of the levy that people pay, general tax levies, conservation futures. Okay. Any questions on the conservation area fund?
Just a clarification, conservation futures is a property tax, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a tax that's levied, I think in 14 or 15 counties in the state. Almost all of them are in Western Washington. And it's levied at various levels. We're currently at 50% of what it could be levied at, and that's held steady. To increase would require going out to the voters.
To increase over 50% that is currently being used.
Right. So King County, I think last year had an election to solidify collecting conservation futures at the highest level, which passed overwhelmingly.
Can you remember what was the percentages for San Juan County?
I don't remember. No, don't know that number off the top of my head.
Conservation futures.
That's revenue on the top of conservation.
Okay, so I am ready to move on to the stewardship and management fund. If people are ready to move along.
Page 5.
We've skipped page 5. Page 6 is the list of our properties and conservation easements. And so page 7 is the beginning of this stewardship fund.
Right.
Ready?
Yeah. Ready, set, go.
All right, so beginning operating cash and beginning endowment funds. You can see those numbers where at the end of 2025, the endowment funds will be up from the beginning of 2025 significantly. And part of that is because of the repayment of the debt that was incurred when we borrowed from the endowment fund for the purchase of the North Shore property. So that is currently fully paid back to the stewardship fund, but that's why you see that significant jump.
Right. In 2025, pending in 2025, I hope it stays steady. So what number are you looking at?
So I'm looking at the
It's
beginning endowment funds. If you look at 2025 year-end projections.
Right, 6.2.
And then you go to 2026.
Okay, gotcha.
There's that significant jump. And Aaron, please feel free to jump in when you see me saying something that's obviously.
Hey, you're doing great.
Okay.
But it might be interesting to note that our endowment continues to grow throughout all of these other fluctuations. I think that we should make that point over and over again.
Yeah.
We're able to continue funding the endowment
Yeah, there,
as an increasing.
it has
fund.
continued to grow. There was a period back in the Great Recession where it did not, and where the commission did not make a transfer to that endowment fund because the situation was so grim at that point. But since then, it's been consistent, and that fund continues to grow.
Mhm.
Okay, going down to intergovernmental revenue, this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. You can see that jump from 150 to 1.3 million to almost 2.6 million. All of that is with regard to the Beaverton Marsh Trail project. So we've been approved to be in the design phase. We have a contractor. We're waiting to sign that contract. Actually, I was hoping to talk to John Kane about that today. Hopefully we'll get that done, and they'll begin their work. We are also looking at hiring a temporary employee that would be funded through this, to help us really wend our way through this process. One thing that's important to note that I don't think we've really highlighted adequately up to this point is that grant, the total for the grant for this project is what, 5 million?
5.2.
5.2. There is a match requirement of 13.5%. So there's a significant cost to us for doing this project, without a doubt. Some of that match will be in kind, so it won't cost us anymore. We'll just be marking down staff time and whatever other expenditures we might have had. We're really not entirely clear on what percentage is going to be in kind and what percentage we'll have to just contribute to the project. Also, the 5.2 number is, that's the outside, that's the high, what am I trying to say? That's the maximum amount that can be paid for the project. We're really hoping that we'll be able to accomplish this project for significantly less money. So we won't get the federal revenue, but we also won't incur the full amount of match that we have to contribute.
So given the total that's available, our match would be total in terms of value, whether it's in kind and or cash, the total would be
$712,000.
how much?
712. May I just hit?
Yes.
Look at the hammer for a second. I just want all of us commissioners to understand that we have this requirement of 13.9% on this project. So we have an additional large expenditure that we had not anticipated previously of $700,000 maximum. That's the maximum if we spend the whole project. Up to date, we are about to sign the contract with the design and engineering firm which is 25% of the entire project, which means that at this point, we are obligated, once we sign this contract, for a couple $100,000 of expenditure in kind and actual dollars. We need to recognize always that in kind means that someone who would be working on something else is now working on this project. So there's a real cost, although it doesn't take us over our budget of personnel costs, but there's a real cost to our programs when we do that. I'm not speaking for or against it, but I just think we all need to be clear. And then finally, as I understand it, we can have a project that comes in less than this, which would reduce our total out-of-pocket expense. The way I want to start thinking about this project is that for only $712,000, we have this very large and good beneficial project being brought into our community with the help of grant funds. So although it's a big chunk of change that we have not previously identified or discussed, we also have a huge benefit from it because of the amount of grant funds that are available.
And those expenditures would be spread out significantly too, as we anticipate the construction phase of this project lasting, 3 or 4 years. I believe, at least 3 years, something like that. So.
To add on to that, the two phases, the engineering phase, which they consider, design and engineering, the PE phase and construction phase, they're separate. The obligation on the PE phase, the engineering phase is scheduled to go through 2026, getting ourselves to that contracted phase with construction. And that's about 200,000 of match. Combination in kind and our own money through 2026, and then 2027 and beyond is the construction phase. So if you want to split it up mentally that way.
So 26 is the deadline. We have to have construction contracts let by this time next year, or the money goes away. So this is the big rush on this project. Another cautionary note, it's entirely possible that we go through the engineering phase and come to the conclusion that the requirements that WashDOT wants from us, because this is a transportation project and not a recreation project, are just too much. In other words, if we're looking at just having to do a lot of damage to the preserve to create a trail, which we think is it's just inappropriate on the property. It's possible this project will come to an end. We're still going to be spending that engineering money and the match leading up to a potential no.
Which is the same as appraising properties that we don't end up purchasing.
Well, it is in a way, but we generally know what is going to be required and how it's going to kind of lay out. So do we have to go that far down the road before we make a decision about if this is appropriate or not? I mean, we know they're going to be putting pilings in that I can't remember in the bog.
Yeah, it's not so much the crossing, that's the issue. We know that's going to be expensive,
Right.
For sure. It's really the approach to the crossing.
Down.
Where we've got to go down a very, very steep hill, and the question is, what is that going to look like?
Right.
So we'll do the best we can. We're gonna have check-ins at various points of 30% design completion and 60 and 90, and we hopefully will get this figured out if it's gonna be a no sooner rather than later, but we're obligated, as if we sign the contract, to go through the full design phase.
And that obligation is with WashDOT or with the consultant?
It's with the consultant, and WashDOT is a party to it.
Mhm.
So it's up to them to release funds,
Right.
which they have for the design part. We'll have to satisfy what they want for the construction part in order for them to release the construction funds.
Right.
Taylor, those expenditures noted in the conservation area fund, or where did those show up? Right here, I guess.
Yes, in the stewardship fund. Okay.
So how are the staff feeling about this project? I sense a level of unease.
It's unlike, projects that we have done. You know, it's similar, in certain ways. You know, we've done some projects that have required considerable investment in stewardship costs. North Shore, for example, was one of those, and part of that was paid for by grant funding. We don't have a lot of buildings that we have to cart off in this case. It's just about constructing this trail to a certain standard. But it's definitely a bigger, this trail is gonna be a little bit different from the typical land bank trail for sure. So, and it's not that we don't have, you know, entrance roads. We've got a road that goes up to Mount Grant, which is one of the reasons that that project was so attractive, to provide the ability to bring people up there who have limited mobility. But this is a trail project, which is, you know, a pretty advanced trail project. A lot of engineering requirements. It's just gonna take a lot to get this thing.
Kind of Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon.
I see that Commissioner Fuller has her hand up with a question or comment.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I want to just for a moment put a slightly political spin on this, if you don't mind. Well, first of all, I want to say I am extremely grateful that what is a congressional earmark from Representative Larson that he secured for San Juan County back in, I believe it was 2019, 2020, that we are, as a county, with the support of the land bank, able to make use of a congressional earmark. If you all remember the Zylstra Lake Trail conundrum that the county was in around the time I joined council, it was regarding how this congressional earmark would be used. And we lost, but not entirely. We did get a bit of a black eye as a county because of our inability to spend a congressional earmark that Representative Larson got for us. So my political spin on this is thank you, Representative Larson. We are actually very grateful to our land bank for finding a way to spend these funds on something that I think we all hope will be perpetually used and appreciated and valued and benefited to people who live here and visit here and all the rest of it. So it doesn't go unnoticed by me that the big lift that this is to take advantage of pork barrel money, sorry, I hate to say it that way, is on the shoulders of this organization, of the land bank. And you know, that's a lot. That is a lot, and it's a big ask. At the same time, it's a better solution than turning down a congressional earmark from your representative. So I hope that at the design phase, this all still looks, at the completion of that phase, this all still looks feasible. For me as a council person, this is a massive lesson in be careful what you ask your representatives and senators for. Have a plan for how you're going to spend those monies if you're asking them for money. All right. So I'm not going to say we're lucky. It actually stems from a conversation that Lincoln and I had. Lincoln, correct me if I'm wrong, but a discussion we had earlier this year where it's like, well, could the land bank use this money? Because clearly we're not doing a Zylstra Trail, you know, and so then flowed the discussion. But you guys, I'm just grateful that we can do this, and I really appreciate all the hard work that's going to go into this, and you guys doing your due diligence around all the financials. that will be, that are gonna be an implication of all this. But anyway, that's my little political push. Say thanks to Rep. Larson again when you see him, because guess what? We have lots more help we need from him going forward. So that's my little political line, you guys.
Thanks, Jane, for sharing that. I think that's really valuable for everybody to hear.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuller, and I agree. I think the project is going to be a godsend for us and the people of San Juan, or maybe a Congress send. But a couple of additional comments on relating to this part of the budget. One, when you mentioned that our match requirement and that we will be hiring a design consultant, which I knew. I didn't think about this in going through the budget the first time, but we'll also be hiring as I understand it, a temporary staff person.
Correct.
To oversee the project, and
Right.
I don't know where that's reflected in here, but I guess it is, I hope.
It is, and because it's not reflected in the budget yet because it hasn't been approved, it hasn't been put in as a bars line, so it's not built in as a line item on our budget yet. But since this is a grant funded position, whatever expenditure, it's balanced.
Come out of the grant,
So,
I understand.
so it's all covered.
Yeah.
It won't change, revenue expenditure.
Makes
any-
sense.
So that's what, it just doesn't show up there yet.
The other comment that I wanted to make is that, although it looks like this is a big bump in the revenues, and it is, it's a temporary bump. At some point, I don't know when it is this project is gonna be over. And although it looks like we're sitting pretty with this grant, we're gonna be down again.
Yeah, when we'll be spending the money as it comes in. It's not like we're banking it, we'll be spending it as fast as it comes in. I mean,
And our revenue line won't look as fat as it is now.
Right.
That's in the details. for you.
So, yeah, and that's what's in this budget is appropriate, but I'm just thinking about the appearance of the land bank revenues and assets.
Yeah, and I want you to understand,
Liza.
when, when the commission approved the financial guidelines and we established that 60% threshold, we made sure in the budgetary process and projects that the only project going beyond that 60% is the Beaverton Trail project. If the Beaverton Trail project wasn't there, our entire budget would be under that 60% threshold that the commission established.
Yeah.
So with that going away, we're not spending more money in other areas because we're seeing this fat revenue. Those are all staying under that threshold.
Not relevant to this budget, but it's important to keep in mind. For appearance sake. Eliza, I want to mostly keep the discussion of the commission. Do you have a quick comment? or-
I do have a quick comment. It's just one response to your observation that there's some staff unease, and I give a caveat that I've been very peripheral to this project, but I would just encourage everyone to consider this not just as a one-time thing, but that we're creating a major infrastructure addition to a land bank preserve that's gonna require maintenance. I don't know if we're doing an analysis of what those recurring costs will be, but with any major, engineered project, it doesn't last forever. So, that would be perhaps a hidden cost that I would really urge you all to factor into the decision-making, that it's not just a windfall, it's a long-term commitment.
Well, just as we anticipate or try to anticipate with all of our preserve plans, what's it gonna cost us in the future? Yeah, thank you. Okay,
All right, moving on. We're still in the revenue section, so we need to make up a little time here. And I would say moving down from that line, nothing really exceptional. You can see our investment interest.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why does the sale plant materials go down significantly
Why is it?
when,
I don't know.
Well, those are budgeted, right? We want to exceed revenues. Revenues are meant to be kept conservative. And what you're seeing is going down, as you can see, like 2023, what we're showing in the budget, we sold 24,000, and then 24, what we sold more plants, 35,000. Year in projection, 20,000, who really knows? We're
It's a
just
good estimate.
putting an estimate in there
Mhm.
to be exceeded.
Conservative.
Yeah,
Just interesting, because it's half of what,
It's a way.
was it
Anyway, okay.
2024, but
yeah,
you know, we're anticipating 2025 being less than it was in 2024 also.
right, okay.
I think it's actually reasonable because, the federal funding situation, a lot of grants have vanished that were for native plant restoration, so I would anticipate we might have lower sales to other agencies, so I think it's pretty reasonable. But yeah, like Aaron said, it's.
That helps.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving down. Interest income, we've reduced a little bit, anticipating that, we're gonna have a reduction in, interest rates. So who knows, but that's what's in the budget. And I think we can just go all the way down, to the bottom here. You can see this is the revenue coming from the conservation area fund into the endowment and for site enhancement. As Aaron noted, a lot of that site enhancement is this bump, for the trail project. Okay, I'm ready to move on to expenditures. So I will note that, at the top of page 8, we've got the ending cash, for operating and for endowment funds, and so we are projecting to continue to grow the endowment fund, certainly, through this period. And operating cash is, also going up quite significantly. Again, this is a trail,
Okay. That's why it jumps up as much. Okay.
okay. So just moving down, into administration, for the stewardship fund. No really significant changes, going down to, there's a little bump in medical insurance. You never know how that's gonna go. But coming down to the information technology line, you can see there's a bit of a jump there, which is significant, from 25 to 26. And then another significant jump again, in 27. That's not huge, but the GIS services, you can see there's a quite large jump there, and that reflects moving our expenditures over into stewardship, but it's also a big bump in the overall amount.
And
So
that's-
why is that?
A fee in the county.
That's we're given that number from the IT department. And so that's what they believe they need, from our department in order to adequately provide us with IT services.
Have we increased our needs from them from previous years?
Not for quite a while.
Is it based on requests or is it based on the staffing?
It's not based on us.
Right,
It's
they determine.
they determine what, so they allocate these charges by person, by equipment that you're using, across the county, and it's similar. I mean, it's the same
For all the departments.
for everybody. So the other departments are seeing similar increases, with the exception of GIS. I'm not really sure what that breakdown is, among other departments.
And has the department explained why to the other departments there's this increase?
we're not provided with a memo or, no, we don't know. This is
Do
the
there-
number, this is one of the numbers that's given to us from the auditor. Really from county administration to the auditor to us, not. It's not really something that is explained, it's just,
Can we ask what percentage of GIS services the county pays for that the land bank is built for, percentage wise?
we can ask that.
Is there, I'm not sure how I would understand their costs going up,
Yeah, that's what I don't get.
because we're talking about computers, we're talking about access to information, a lot of that data is already there. So I'm curious, are they increasing staffing? I think,
Well, it's
Yeah,
a
that's got a
percentage of,
good point.
it's a percentage of overhead is each department, each billing here, there's a percentage we're paying of overhead. And just like the land bank, even though we don't add staff, wages go up. That means percentages go up even for them, so that means overhead for them
Aaron?
just goes up.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could just make a comment here, to elaborate on what Aaron's saying too. They
Yeah,
have hired,
would you make a quick comment, Jane? I'd like to continue the commission discussion, but go ahead and make a comment, please, and then we'll continue.
well, it's pertinent to this discussion. So, and Lincoln and I did have a discussion about the budget last Tuesday, and I subsequently talked to Jessica. So it's pertinent to answering a couple of the questions that are being asked by commissioners. And so, yes, IT did hire a new staff person, so that is partly a reflection of this increase. And I just wanted to say that what the commissioners are asking of Lincoln, if you could, as a commission, put together questions you have that you would like to share with Lincoln that could then be shared on with not only the county manager, but the auditor's office. I have some of those same questions. So it would be helpful to me in my own questions of not only the county manager, but the auditor. If you could please capture your questions along the lines that Anne Marie did in her email to me earlier this week, I would find that helpful. So that would be my ask of all of you when you conclude your discussion today. I wanted to tell you one other thing regarding insurance costs going up. They really are going up across the board. And I think probably as you all can personally reflect on your own insurance costs increasing, it is a massive trend. Now, I was at the Legislative Steering Committee yesterday of the Washington State Association of Counties. One of the things that this association will be advocating for with legislators in this legislative session is for legislators to put a cap on the funds that can be awarded when people sue local governments, including and that is local government entities that include school districts, other junior taxing districts, but also the county itself, because as was referred to by Lincoln earlier, a major reason insurance companies are increasing their costs is because they carry the cost of those payouts. Well, maybe we need to put a cap on how much can be paid out. So that's something that is on the agenda for Washington State Association of Counties to pursue with legislators. I'm just letting you know that as further context. But I have all the questions that you have regarding how these administrative services costs are getting passed on to not just the land bank, but other departments as well. But yes, IT was authorized to hire a new staff position that was approved by council earlier this year. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for that, Jane, and thanks for your request for comments. I think that's where we're headed in our discussion today, is to sort of corral and round up our questions. And we also have a public hearing coming up on this, so we may get additional questions to the public. So we will gather them and send them to council. Thank you.
All right, moving on. You can see the liability insurance jump, it's dramatic.
Before we get there,
Yes,
I was interested in particularly the next two lines after IT. GIS and facilities services,
right,
which have huge jumps. I mean, 18 to 42 and,
the
This
facilities,
update on facilities has been updated.
oh, okay.
yes,
I never got to the update
Yeah.
yesterday, so.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
so
Yeah.
facilities,
It's-
it's remaining basically the same at this
Okay.
point. But the GIS, yes, along with IT, GIS is definitely taking a big jump. Part of that, remember, is the transfer from conservation area fund to
Yeah.
stewardship.
Yeah, so my question in advance is, what's up with those increases? Significant.
All right,
So under facilities, it looks like we go in 2025 from 14,000 to 46,000.
no,
That's,
That changed.
Oh, that's an old document.
we
Okay, I'm sorry.
changed that, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
you
No,
can see up on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's hard to track all these different.
Facilities
I-
charges.
tell me about it.
Tell you. Okay.
14,000.
Oh, okay, I see up on the board. It's the same. Sorry about
Okay, I
that.
know.
Yes, no, we had a discussion with facilities and we're able to reduce that number.
Those are the only,
One
there
other
were only a
quick
couple of
question.
changes, but that was one of them. I mean,
Can we not, if you're
Sorry.
talking, so everybody can hear.
Sorry.
just trying to explain something to them.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
quick question. Also, it seems a lot of the problems with this is that we just got this a couple days ago.
Yeah.
If it would be possible somehow to get this with a little more time to digest it, ask questions and get answers, that would be very helpful.
I would love to also,
Yeah,
and
it's
I
not your
can't
fault.
crush this any faster than we did, and it's still, there's still gonna be changes all the way up until, the third touch. The fact is, and the way the land bank is set up, we're approving, or we're recommending a budget to, council, and that needs to be done prior to the first touch. It's just the way
Oh, no.
the system is set up.
And that was not directed
Yeah.
to the land bank at all. That was directed toward the county, not what you did at all.
Clearly, we're not,
Right, I appreciate the work you did to load that. That was Aaron's doing. Thank you.
I didn't catch up, Aaron, to your second memo, or I was just finishing
Yeah.
the first one when you said the second.
It's not ideal. I
So
understand.
we're not all on the same page yet,
I totally get
but
it.
we'll get there.
That's great.
Okay, so, Tim, did you,
Yes.
you're good, okay. Liability insurance, can we go down to that line? It's just a stunning increase. Don't know what to say about it, frankly. I think James covered it. Everyone is getting
Yeah.
nailed with this.
Well, what's interesting is the property insurance stays the same, and that's what most homeowners are seeing, you know?
Right.
So that goes back to your previous statement about the Recreational Indemnity Act,
Immunity.
immunity.
Yeah.
So why? Is the question.
Well,
I'm
I
not
think
asking you
it's
that.
because it's assessed to the county, and so.
Spread out.
County is spreading it out
Yeah.
across the departments. So it really doesn't have anything to do with our, how much property.
So I think our question, or my question anyway, would be, how is it spread out and why is that rational?
And we'll get an answer on that question.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on. What is next?
Vehicles, but that's not really, where's the fleet?
This would be under management and
You keep,
maintenance.
keep going
Okay.
down to management and maintenance. I'm ready to move on to that section.
Page 9.
Page 9.
Is that different than vehicle?
We're down to.
Fleet is one of my favorites.
So the next jump, you can see there are 3 highlighted areas there, and those are all motor pool.
Yeah.
So overall, our jump in motor pool is going from, I think, roughly 37,000 to close to 100.
Wow, I could
Yikes.
really get a nice car.
So, and that's across the board. All
Right.
departments are getting that.
And it varies by department because it depends on how many vehicles you have.
Right, so.
So for,
what's the per
for
vehicle?
Public Works, the cost is astronomical, that increase.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
make up 2.87% of fleet. So our surcharge for 6 years that they're tacking on to build up their reserves again is based on 2.87% allocation to us. So you can imagine other departments are way more than 2.87%.
Scary,
Yeah.
shocking. So
When
that's
Jane
amazing
did
that we're only
talk about that,
2.87.
Yeah.
And so, Jane, you can correct me if I'm wrong, council will be talking about the motor pool slash fleet situation. And trying to come up with some overall answers and direction on that. Is there anything that you want to add, Jane, to that?
No, Lincoln, I think that's basically it. Council, I mean, I can speak for myself. This hasn't been walked through in detail with council yet in the context of the budget for the county going forward. But yes, indeed, this will be a hot topic to unpack this a little more. Very unfortunately, nothing has changed in fleet since 2009, as I think I mentioned. And so this is catching up with things that were not taken care of in the way they needed to be. And we have a new fleet director who's helping figure all this out. But council has some decision making to land on with regard to whether we sort of push some of these costs into the future, what the implications of that would look like, and or what are other solutions. You know, what I discussed with our county manager the other day was these costs are going to have to be borne one way or another, and it is going to be part and parcel of paring back. We're going to have to do across other parts of the budget of the county. So this is a real mess, to be frank. And yes, council will be discussing this, and it is pretty hard to swallow. But stay tuned on whether or not there are downstream implications for your budget as discussions happen. Thanks.
So my understanding is the county motor pool people have a policy of replacing vehicles, what, 10 years? People, you know, we don't have a lot of miles on this island. You can drive around the island, but you still don't get a lot of miles. So I'm curious about that, because that adds huge expense to buy a new vehicle every 10 years, whether it's really needs it. And I mean, I think there's a public perception piece of that as well. It's like, oh, you know, okay, we voted for the land bank and now they got these snazzy new, I mean, I have that attitude towards the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
It's like, what the heck are they driving those vehicles for? And I mean, it's a huge cost. And it's also an impact on the environment. It's a lot. So that's something I really want to push back on. I don't think it fits our community values.
No, and the number of people that say things to me about the vehicles and the fact that they think that all the COVID money went to buy new trucks and new equipment and stuff like that. It's like, whoa, I don't even know. You know, I just want to get under the tape.
Yeah, that's something it sounds like a number of us would really like the county to really take a look at, and because if we're trying to keep costs down,
Yes, so we have pushback on that issue.
I'm behind you.
And we've gotten hopefully to 12 years.
We could get up to 12 years.
But we'll want to continue to push on that. You know, we have a vehicle now, which is, how old is that truck on Lopez? It's,
From 2008, so.
from 2008, and it has 60,000 miles on it.
We're averaging 4,000 miles a year.
Right, so.
We have to start driving.
Lincoln and commissioners, I just want to pause and do a time check for a
Yep.
moment. We are supposed to be having a public hearing on this today.
Right,
We're way behind ourselves.
yep.
So, what's your pleasure? I would like to hear from the, we need to hear from the public. Some of the folks may be here for that. Do you want to wrap this up
I
quickly?
can wrap this up quickly.
I want to have it,
Because the rest of the costs, there's nothing really, out of the ordinary here.
okay,
I have a question regarding what we were just discussing that I'd like to get into before we move on.
okay.
The question is that we're rebuilding reserves in the motor pool. How many years ahead of us do we have?
6.
6 more years that we're looking at costs like this. Thank you.
And that's approximately half the increase that we're seeing is that
Yes, okay,
rebuilding cost.
thank you.
So I'd like to wrap this and as quick as we can, and then either take a break or have the public hearing first, whatever you all need. And then have our discussion, which I think we may have to continue.
Yeah, I would, either way. But I would if I were you, I would go into the public hearings. We were supposed to do that long ago now.
I would like to do that.
Yeah.
But do you have more that you want to present?
I think I can stop there, unless people have other questions.
Okay. Well, what I would like to do then is open the public hearing on our proposed 26-27 budget. Take public comments and then follow it up with further discussion with the commission. So I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody here who has a comment? Okay. I'm not seeing any comments. I have a feeling that we may continue this discussion because things are still changing. The commission has a lot to discuss. So I will reserve the option of reopening the public hearing, possibly even at a future date at our next meeting. So at this point, I'll close the public hearing. And do you all want to take a short break or continue to discuss?
What else do we have on the agenda?
We, so we,
A lot of discussion.
the other things that we have on the agenda, we can very quickly go through the director's report. We can push off the organizational update till next time. With stewardship, we have a couple of issues. We did want to talk about the community conversation, because that's scheduled to come up in October, but we can continue on with the budget conversation.
All right, why don't we say if anybody needs to take a break, go ahead and take it. Otherwise, we'll continue the discussion.
Let me stand up, walk around a little bit.
Sure. We can walk and talk, but it has to be within reach.
Okay, do what you want.
So commissioner comments.
I just have a question for the rest of the board. Does anybody have any issues to discuss regarding the budget outside of the county services issue?
Well, I think it's important for people to know that Aaron talked a lot with the stewards and they've reduced quite a bit of activity trying to keep everything in sync. So I don't know that we need to go through it line by line, but I think that there's been a total involvement of the staff and everybody in this activity. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Is that reflected in site enhancement costs, projected costs?
It's reflected all over the budget, for stewardship. We probably cut around 250,000 in total from the budget to make sure that we stay under that 60% threshold. That's in, professional services, repair and maintenance contracts, and capital expenditures, projects across preserves. So, yeah, had great staff compliance on making sure we stay under that 60% threshold, other than the obligation for Beaverton Trail.
And those capital improvements are listed on page 10. thank you very much for that separate page, because it really helps to be able to see exactly what to expect in the next couple of years.
So I would like to, pardon me, I'd like to try to frame this discussion by saying that as I think what we need to do is two things. First of all, we need to decide overall what we want to do with this budget. The choices being to approve it as is, to reject it as is, or to approve it possibly with amendments, or the fourth choice is to defer it, table the discussion, and continue it the next time we're able. The second thing that we need to do per Commissioner Fuller's invitation is to round up our comments to send to the council along with the budget whenever we do. So with those purposes in mind, and let's see, what do we want to do? If staff will take notes on the comments and what I would propose is that some member of the commission, or members of the commission, work with staff to compose comments and send them to council along with the budget. Okay?
As soon as we adopt it.
Well, even if we don't adopt it, I think we need to give them comments.
So, yeah, I have a question, like, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, if we just say we're not approving anything, we have these questions. And Jane probably can answer that, so where does that go, where does that put us, given the county timeline for moving ahead with budget?
Well,
And then the second side of that, I know if we were to make some changes, but I don't know enough to be able to make changes to some of these numbers, even though I don't like them.
right.
That's why I have questions. Council has to either say yay or nay and then send it back to us to make our final.
So the commission's job is to recommend a budget to council. So
Right.
that's something that you will have to do one way or another, or we don't have anything. You're gonna have to come up with something that you're willing to recommend to council.
It would be helpful to know the timeline. I mean, I know today
It's-
we should be doing that.
That's what we'd hope for today.
Right.
You may decide to defer it into next month. We will be talking about the third amended 2025 budget next month, and the quarterly report also, so it will be a heavy financial conversation, but that may be what you are comfortable with.
That is going to be our meeting on August.
Right. Bring your calculator.
Yeah.
Well, it's,
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like council has a lot of questions with some of these combined services that we really ought to be able to explain. I mean, I need to be able to explain what this is about, and I can't go back and say to people, well, we're not really sure, it has to do with the state liability insurance, it's, I feel like we need more answers to some of these questions we are building for the future. We're not focused on the past. That's not what our fund is about. So I have a problem. Jane's got her hand up. Okay. So that's where I'm at. I think we need to get more answers from the council.
And Jane,
Just a point of clarification again, our number one issue seems to be the motor pool. And this is the whole budget, the things we're concerned about are the motor pool policy and budget, which have significant impact. And the information technology, including GIS, which sounds as if that increase is based on an approved additional personnel. Personally, I do not have any questions about liability insurance, although I hate that kind of thing. I understand that that's what happens when you're in a pool. we don't have control over what's been paid out from the pool for other jurisdictions' problems. And that's the way it goes. So I don't have any problems with that. I think, to me, to narrow the conversation, information technology and motor pool are the two areas that we are most uncomfortable with, and we would like additional information on. Is that correct? Anything else?
I guess I'm concerned about the liability because we have this recreational indemnity, and I don't know that we should be
Mm.
carrying the same burden as the sheriff's department.
I understand, and thank you for that, because now I agree with you.
Okay, can we all hold that thought for a moment? I see that Jane has either a question or a response to our previous question, so, Commissioner?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Brian. Just a quick response. I need to clarify that when I said, Anne Marie, I have questions, I have to be clear, I speak for myself. So I do not know if my seatmates have questions about IT, for example, and some of those cost increases, about insurance. What happens is, the county manager speaks with each of us individually prior to council hearing presentations on the budget. So what I'm thinking, and Lincoln, for Lincoln and Aaron, I would appreciate your thoughts on this. It may be that Lincoln with Aaron can get a couple of answers to things like, the IT cost increases and some further explanation on the insurance side. I suspect, and I don't know for sure, that the fleet services cost increases will be something that council wants to discuss. But a couple of these other issues, I cannot say that there's going to be the need to have a council discussion on a couple of those, on the IT and the insurance. It really depends how some of this plays out. I just wanted to make that point clear. I have quite a number of questions myself budgetarily, but maybe some of them can be handled prior to a council meeting. That's all I wanted to offer.
Okay, thank you, Jane. So it sounds like the sooner that we can gather and send in our questions, the better off everybody will be. So, getting back to Marilyn's question, I think you summed up the items about which you had questions, and I've heard questions. Does anybody have anything to add to that? Okay, so it's basically the county's admin costs. Those are the questions.
And I would, add to that what Anne Marie just said, is our mandate is acquiring and conserving land.
Mhm.
So that's our focus.
Can I just kind of give an objective view of what this biennium budget looks like from the land bank perspective? First off, our cash and reserves are going up year after year. That remains. We're staying under that 60% threshold, other than the Beaverton Marsh obligations. County services issues can remain an issue, and there's also amendments and updates as we go along. But in terms of the direction of the budgeted projections for this biennium, overall, the land bank looks good. We're increasing, even with all these struggles with fleet, even with struggles with, insurance and IT costs. The land bank's continuing to grow cash reserves. So keep that in mind when you're deciding whether or not you want to approve this budget and recommend this budget to the council, while we continue to sort out, and the county continues to sort out all these questions. So I just want to make sure you're thinking about
Important clarification.
the overall picture is good. It's a
Thank
good
you,
looking
Aaron.
budget where we're increasing cash.
Yeah.
Thank you,
good.
Aaron. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Okay,
So it includes no new acquisitions.
it does. It includes the Coho,
Right.
the-
well,
One
nothing in
acquisition.
2027.
right. nothing
That's
to talk
correct, so that might change. But so bearing in mind what Aaron is saying, I think that begs the question of what do you want to do with this budget?
So, if we decide to put this off to continue the discussion next month, how does that fit into the county's timeline? I think was Anne Marie's question. Does that mess things up terribly, or do we?
I'm
have
not
enough?
clear on that. Are you, Lincoln, or maybe Jane can answer the question?
Well, it would be neater if we could recommend a budget to them before they get into these conversations, their hearings. If we have to defer it, we can work around that.
The council's first touch is October 7th. So our October meeting will be after the council's first touch on the budget.
Can we have a protest budget passed?
Yes, we can.
Pass the budget with the caveat that we disagree with these specific
That's an option.
costs from the county?
So, yeah,
Do we know, and I know I got, I guess Anne Marie's memo summarizing those costs, but I didn't figure out what the sum of those costs are as a percentage of our total budget. And I think that would be important to know and state.
The increase in costs, maybe, or?
What's percent?
what percent increase?
No, well, the percentage increase is one thing, and that would be valuable. But I'm really talking about the percentage of the administrative costs as a percentage of our total
I
budget.
get what you're asking, Brian, and I can get that
Yeah.
for you.
But just to summarize the total expense changes here, and this is on the last page of yesterday's budget. 2025 adopted for the county services was 222,000. It's anticipated to be amended to 249. 2026 is 342 and 2027 is 378. So we're talking about 100 and then $140,000 in increases over the next 2 years. This is not a huge part of our budget. It's significant, especially if it indicates policy going forward that would allow our costs to increase faster than our rate increases. That is an issue. But in the whole scheme of things, it's not a huge part of our budget. And I personally don't mind passing the budget that we have that Aaron has created with the note to council that we object to the policies or to the allocations and policies that have created these additional costs to land bank. Because it's a combination of policy and how much is allocated our way.
Can we be specific? I appreciate what you're proposing, but it's still leaving it kind of hanging. So we're saying we object to those. Can we be specific and say, I'm a little bit at a loss, let me just say, I don't, in terms of process here, can we get more specific about, percentage that increase that we're willing to pay? I don't know, because that's arbitrary too.
I don't think we get to make that call.
I don't think.
I think
Let
it'd
me-
be hard to
Let me
make that
take a
call.
shot at it. I will agree with Marilyn that we submit a protest budget. And the reason I agree is because right now, and in 2026 and 2027, the administrative costs are a relatively small percentage of the budget. But as I suggested in a memo to a couple of you and Lincoln and Aaron, that percentage is increasing while our revenues may or may not increase. And so I think it's important that we point out that fact as a potential long-term trend. That if these administrative costs, which are not necessarily ours, continue to increase while our revenues decrease or stay level, we're going to be paying more and more in those admin costs, which I will say accrue questionable benefits to us. So if if that's a statement that we want to make along with this budget, I guess that's what I would propose, at least for further discussion.
I would add, I appreciate that, and I would add to that, that it minimizes our ability to achieve our mandate, which is conservation and management.
Fair enough.
Because
So-
if we're tying our hands for future acquisitions, I think that's terrible. That'll,
Yeah. Anybody else, anything to add to that?
I'm trying to frame it that part of the problems that seem to have come up have to do with transparency and getting details so that we can make decisions. We don't know what happened exactly with the motor pool, for example.
Right.
If we knew that, it might help us come to a decision.
So you're suggesting that we simply ask for an explanation of these charges and why whatever proportion of the county's charges accrue to the land bank.
That would help us making our decision, yes.
and we're proposing a change in that policy. Of
Okay.
renewing every 10 years. It's ridiculous.
I'm a no vote. I don't want to begin this process with the county going down this road. And I think we lose some of our public voice if we don't let the county council know that we are very concerned about the slope that they're on with us, because this is not the kind of program that the public voted in last year. They trust us. And I can't explain this. And I don't like the fact that I can't explain what's going on here to the people that I asked to vote for this. And so I have to be a no vote. It's just a really ethical issue for me.
And I would add that, you're welcome, I think, to make a minority report to council.
Yeah, I
That's fair.
I don't need to make my mind. I think it's all on the record.
Well,
Well, I do think, regardless, we'll be, providing them with questions
Yeah.
and issues. So that will capture, I think, a lot of what Anne Marie is thinking. It's just a question of how we're structuring this now.
So I'd be curious to hear from Jane about, if there was a no vote, how would council look at that? Jane?
Sorry, yeah, I was just trying to
Just-
unmute. How would count, it's a protest vote. I mean, frankly, I don't know whether that's been done before by the land bank. Maybe Lincoln knows. It has not, Lincoln?
No, it has not.
Yeah. So obviously it will slow things down. It's a protest vote that's the way I look at it. I think, I mean, it's what you have before you is challenging in terms of the fleet issue, that really is an issue that dates back many, many years. And it's a problem that's been discovered by the new fleet services director about them not being able to charge, or not having charged appropriate fees to be able to, to ensure that they have the reserves to continue to function. They are out of money as of next year. They're not solvent in 2026 unless these increases are introduced. And so that's a huge problem. And I should say, it's not just about purchasing new vehicles. So I very well take what what a few of you have said about, the bad look of, new vehicles being purchased and whatnot. And I'm listening as your council person, to those concerns. And I think those are worthy questions of asking, what do we want to look at in terms of changing the way we approach that. But I think it really is for the commission to decide whether you want to pass this budget with reservations, whether you want to try to wait until your next meeting to get some answers to some of this and then finalize in your next land bank commission meeting, or whether you want to pass with, you know, with your statements of concern. That really is for you all to decide. I can't make that decision for you, obviously. I think, though, that it is important in the bigger scheme to keep in mind what Aaron said about the relative health of your entity, of your department, of your organization, and understand that across the board cost increases are hitting everybody and everything. Right, you may not see insurance costs increasing in your own household insurance, but if you look at costs for contractors, costs for everything, we are in a climate of cost increases. Our county can't continue to function without absorbing those. We have no choice. So I guess that's where I'll leave that. I can't, that's what I can offer.
Thank you. I guess I would add to that the thought that because of those cost increases, the county is, I mean, pointedly, the county is looking at significant budget deficits in 2027. So it sort of begs the question of, on the one hand, is, you know, what's the land bank's part of the county? To what extent are we in that boat? Or, as Anne Marie said, you know, to what extent are we responsible to the voters who voted revenues for us for a specific purpose?
Hey, Brian, this
Of
is Amy
course.
online. May I chime in here?
Yeah, of course.
I think this is a really helpful conversation. What I'm kind of hearing, and I definitely take to heart what the councilwoman just said and what Aaron said and all the concerns raised. It does seem like at the end of the day, we're going to approve a budget with, you know, these costs probably identical, if not very similar to, you know, what we have right in front of us right now. But I also really appreciate where Anne Marie is coming from ethically, that, you know, to take a vote on something where, you know, we just need some answers. We just need some more information. And so I think, given, you know, our limited time, my recommendation would be that we pause this, get our questions to the council, have the conversations we need to have, and bring it back to ourselves to sort out, you know, at the next meeting. And it sounds like that will not unduly delay, um, you know, the council members going forward. But I do think it, you know, kind of honors and respects, you know, the concerns and the questions that are there. So that's kind of where I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Peg.
I really appreciate this discussion and all the different perspectives. Is it possible for us to say, we need answers to XYZ, and then have a special meeting? Where before our next meeting at the end of October, where we would come back with that information and
Well, so the council's first touch is,
October 7th.
Coming
so
right
it's
up.
not gonna happen before that. And so our meeting is scheduled for the 19th, is that the Friday?
7 days, so it's not much time after that.
So,
Okay.
And they've got 2 more.
So let me
They
do
had
a
2 more
quick time
touches.
check again. It's 11:15. Some of us are gonna need to make the boat at 11:20. Where do we want to go? And I noticed that the Taylors are here. They probably want to hear part of your director's report, I'm guessing, Lincoln, about is
yeah, they're,
Cascade Creek is on
yeah,
that.
well,
Yeah.
we're moving forward with that.
Okay.
We've got some questions to work through, but the grant funds have been approved. So we're thinking this is definitely going to happen, but we've got some more
Yeah.
conversations.
I just noticed that the Taylors are online and
Yes.
suspect that's why, so want to reserve some time. So commissioners, do we have a direction, a motion?
Well, we're gonna have a split vote, and normally we usually try to work for consensus, so what does that look like to everybody that
I'm
we
not
have?
sure we're gonna get that. That's okay, I think.
It's fine with me, I completely understand that we are in an era of increasing expenditures, that the county is in a tough spot. I wanna make sure, the thing I'm most concerned about, besides the policy that drives the motor pool, to me is crazy. And the most, I guess we can hope is that they would extend that to 12 years rather than 6 to reimburse their reserves, and that they would allow us to keep cars until they hit 100,000 miles, let's say. And I drive 200,000 mile cars, so that's really saying something. So policy, and then how much is being allocated to the land bank? Is that a fair allocation given our use of these two programs, IT and vehicles? Those are the biggest questions I have. Anne Marie feels, I believe, and don't let me speak for you, please correct me, that if we go ahead and pass the budget with these problems, that we are giving away some of our power to negotiate. I don't know if we have any power to negotiate personally. This is like saying, this is what your electric charge is gonna be, pay it or return the lights out. It's not as if we have a whole lot of wiggle room here or negotiation room here. So I personally can go ahead with passing the budget and trying to work with the county on these other two issues, but you know, we've got 6 commissioners to vote, and I guess it'll be something like 3 and 3 or 2 and 4 on this one.
If that's a motion, I will second it for purposes of discussion and to move along.
What a
Could you
mess of a
clarify?
motion.
Okay.
I move that we approve, I think we need a vote. I move that we approve the budget and send it to the council with our very serious concerns regarding how much is being allocated to the land bank for these costs and whether there are larger problems within the county that need to be addressed, particularly the motor pool.
Thank you. I'll second that.
A question?
Yeah.
Jane, do you think that some of these issues are gonna be resolved in the short term? Or is that gonna take a long time?
Well, I think we're gonna have answers to these questions in the short term. So not sure what you mean by resolved exactly.
Yeah.
I think questions of the motor pool, I mean, what's being asked about and even, suggested here, those are all legitimate questions. All of your questions are legitimate. I think, answers will be more immediate to a couple of these things sooner than later. And, but yeah, so that's what I can offer.
Okay.
Sorry, if I can just add to that, if you're asking me if I think that questions of the motor pool allocation to departments in their budgets across the board is going to change, I can't answer that because ultimately, if it's going to depend on council taking a vote on what's being proposed to do with the fleet, with fleet, again, this is where I can't speak for council, right? So when it comes to IT, could there be some slight modification to how those charges are distributed across departments? I don't know, probably not. But yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't have good answers to the question, but some answers will be forthcoming imminently to your questions because they have to be, because we have to move on with the budgetary process.
Right, as do we.
Further discussion?
Well, I have another question which we haven't brought up, but staffing, those increases in salaries, that's a set county policy, correct? So a yearly or an annual increase. Okay.
Right, and we are proposing to change the job descriptions to make them more accurate for a few positions, so for the field assistants, for Aaron's position and for Tanya's position. So that will
Is that
be-
gonna increase,
That
you
will
think?
be increased.
They're not gonna
increase, yeah.
So we don't know that. We don't know, and we don't know how much that's gonna be yet.
In the
No.
context, the overall context of the budget, it's not gonna be enormously consequential.
Right. Okay.
And we will not need to pass an amended budget to incorporate those changes.
I don't think so.
I have one last comment if we're still in discussion, and then this is to Anne Marie. I am very respectful of our need to be able to explain ourselves to our public. But, the public needs to, if they do not understand that we are part of San Juan County and we have certain expenditures for our program that are provided by the county. And we may not always like the price of them or how those are determined, but we can't remove ourselves from that obligation. So I feel that I can explain to the public those types of questions.
And I think for the large part, you're correct. And if you go through our budget, you see that we're not objecting to L&I costs. We're not objecting to any of those other costs. The costs we're objecting to are what don't meet a straight face. I mean, how can these costs be going up this way? And if I respond and tell somebody, well, we hired a new IT person, you know, it's like, well, how much are you paying them? You know, did we hire like a CEO from Oracle or what's going on here? You know, I mean, this is, so that's, I don't want to go down that path in this conversation.
I'm gonna try to resolve that with a friendly amendment or maybe a clarifying amendment to my amendment, which is that we approve the budget per Maryland's proposal. But along with that, we ask not only questions of the council, but if it's possible, and I don't know whether it is, and I'll defer that to Lincoln and Aaron. If it's possible, we propose at the same time what would be fair portions of those administrative costs. So I will just leave that to you to, you know, if we're saying that the accrual of the cost is not fair to us, I think it's our obligation to say why, and then what would be fair and why. So
Yeah.
with that added explanation,
So as I understand it, that would basically ask how they are apportioned in the rest of the county. Like, how much IT does county parks pay for?
well, okay, to
As an example.
put a fine point on it, yes. That's the first part of the question. The second part is, what does IT really do for us? What does GIS services really do for us, or the fleet thing? That's the question that we want to ask of council, I think. Fair,
Yes.
okay. Are we ready to vote on action on this budget?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. So all in favor of Marilyn's proposal?
Can you state it again?
Are we gonna vote on the amendment? As,
Oh,
or do I just accept the amendment? It's-
it was a friendly amendment,
Okay,
you
yeah,
accepted
I
it,
accept it.
yeah.
Yeah, so I say aye.
Yeah, I will reluctantly say yes.
Okay. Uh,
Amy.
is Amy still here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's
She's there.
Amy?
Is this a vote on the amendment? I
No,
think I'm
this is a
with,
vote on the whole proposal. The amendment is
Oh.
accepted.
yeah, I respectfully want to decline. I really would rather us wait, have a special Senate meeting between the time that the council first considers their budget and we get responses and, information that we clearly really don't have and absolutely need, and before our next land bank commission. So that would be my preference. So if that can't happen, I would respectfully vote against this. Thank you. Not because of a protest, not because I'm not supporting a budget over, in the long run, but I really think we should have answers to these fundamental questions before we move forward. Thank you.
Well, I think we have 4 votes in favor, 2 against.
I've got Marilyn as an aye, Peggy an aye, Brian, are you?
Aye.
And Tim?
Not a happy eye, just,
We're all on the happy eyes.
Unhappy.
Our eyes are crying.
Mhm.
So the next thing we want to do is select a commissioner or two to work with staff in writing up questions and comments to be submitted with that budget.
And I have two, so in the process, now I take our approved amended acquisition. Expenditure and acquisition plan and send that to the auditor's office. I will send whatever letter and questions that we have along with that package as one.
Exactly.
So I won't send it to them until we have
Right.
a letter
Yeah.
with
That's it.
questions.
So,
Am I correct that you've been tracking, Tanya, been tracking the questions?
Oh, I'm not tracking, but I have it recorded.
I-
I've got notes, he's got notes, and we'll compare.
We'll compile them all.
I'm still trying to figure out what the motion is.
Motion to.
Yeah. It's got a lot of words. The answer is yes, we'll have it.
Yeah.
John, if it's fair, are there any legal issues here in terms of land bank commission making sure that we're achieving our mandate where we're tentatively approving a budget that is limiting our ability to use those funds?
I don't think there are any legal problems that are created there. The something for the commission to keep in mind is that you do have the opportunity to propose budget amendments all the time. And so if you do get more information, for example, in late December or in January, and you come to understand, we see how things could be done differently, we would like that. You can ask for that. There's a vehicle for that. Something that I would, something you have avoided with action today is the possibility of a very difficult December with a lot of conversation back and forth between the commission and the council with special meetings, because as you know and no doubt appreciate, the budget for this particular department, the land bank, only gets passed if the land bank commission and the council agree upon it. And if you don't agree upon it, in the worst case scenario, you can't spend any money in 2026. And you're on track now to avoid that. This is good. I think you should be happy about that. But no, you've avoided one large problem, and I think when you have more information, you can act on that as appropriate to do so. You're doing well.
Thank you,
Good,
John.
thank you.
And I see that Jane has a comment or a response to that too.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. And thank you, John, for just reiterate or just saying what you just did in terms of presenting options that they have and laying that out. I appreciate your contribution there. I had an ask of Aaron, and that is, Aaron, could you would you mind copying me on what you send to the auditor's office? So I can just have, have record of what you communicate. Are you okay with that?
Of course.
Okay. And one
My
other,
intention, Jane, is that this be sent to all of the council members.
okay. I
Because
had one other,
you're gonna make the
sorry.
decision to approve the budget.
Yeah, okay, I wasn't sure if Aaron's communication to the auditor was a little bit separate from that, but I'll defer to Aaron on that. One other ask I had of Aaron, I heard you speak to cuts that you made, like to decisions that staff took to reduce some of your expenditures, but I couldn't capture all of that. I really appreciate that you put that work in, that effort in, and that, when we face difficult budgetary times, council is not always apprised of what some of those difficult decisions are that are made within departments. Aaron, I'd really love to see what you guys did decide to cut and how prudent you were in that. That I'd just be interested in seeing that.
Of course, we can speak outside this meeting and set up a time where I can walk you through our process and how we came to these budgetary numbers.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the work very much. Thank you.
Might be good to put that on paper too,
Yeah, I
Aaron.
think so. Makes our case.
Okay. So,
You can tell me this,
we were back to Maryland. Would you be willing to work with staff to put together a letter to the auditor and to council? Thank you.
Nobody else?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
That makes sense.
Okay.
good.
So our finance committee.
So the finance committee,
Yeah.
that makes good sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Best.
Okay. It's 11 o'clock. We have 15 minutes before the vote. Is there anything that we absolutely need to do? You talked about the community conversations, Linda.
I think we should do that. As I said, I think, the other issues in the director's report we can push off. Can reassure retailers that we're attempting to move forward with that and we have the funding in place. We have some conversations ahead of us about various aspects of that project. The naming proposals we can bring back. We've got 2 new preserves. We do not yet have the final deed for Blakely Island, but we've got 2 properties and we don't really have any idea what to call either of them. We have a naming policy, so maybe next time we can go through those.
I think Peter should be here for Dolphin Bay anyway.
Right. Otherwise, I will mention that Fish and Wildlife is going to be out here this coming week. So Wednesday, the 24th, they will be doing the application of the Rotenone. So we'll be putting up signs, putting out some information. I think Tanya's been going back and forth with DFW on that. But that's happening in this coming week. Yes.
Appreciate the outreach about hunting. And I just want to make sure we really cover the bases. And some of that falls on BLM too, and because I'm not hearing them do much. But that just, we don't have to have a long discussion about it, but that's a hot topic on Lopez.
That was the other thing that you asked to put on our upcoming agenda too, was hunting policy, continuing. The 2 things that I think were requested were Native American relations and hunting policy. So, thanks.
I have one more question too, Fraser. So Park Service doesn't have the money.
The funds for 2025 have not been released,
Yeah, missed budget.
as far as I know. I mean, it's, I think the budget's done, it's just them.
Right.
Okay. So, community conversation.
Yeah.
Should we talk about that?
Yeah.
Talk about-
Talk fast, cause.
Well, we've got,
I
I
just-
added to the agenda, a tentative date of October 28th, which is a Wednesday, assuming we'll do it hybrid in all county like we've done in the past. We want to do that? I mean, continue with community conversations, and we don't have to talk about right now what it is because there's too little time, but does that date work?
Date works for me.
Sound good? Okay. So I'll book a space. I'm either here, somewhere on San Juan Island where we'll have it in, person, and then we'll have it online.
Yeah, sure would love to figure out how to get more people to engage. I know you do everything you can.
We could all multiple in-person occasions, so we could do one at the Family Resource Center in Lopez. We've done that before.
On different dates,
No, the
the
same,
same date.
connect. I think we can do that. Alright,
I mean, hey,
that sounds cool.
I'll ask,
No, I was looking.
Amanda and Peter then about.
Okay, resolved.
Uh,
If that's it, four of us need to make the vote. Yes.
Second public comment period.
Are there any additional public comments? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
That was fun.
That was so much fun.